In this demonstration video, we're going to develop two functions, both of them producing a grayscale of an input picture. We'll first do a simple version, and then we'll do one that's a little more sophisticated that produces a slightly better result on the grayscale. So you'll see I've already got the import statement in our code so that we can have access to the media computation functions that make it easy to manipulate images and sound. If we're going to create a function, we need a definition. So let's start out. Def, and we'll call it grayscale, with parentheses and a colon, and I'd indicated we're going to give the function an input of a picture. So let's put it in a descriptive parameter name of picture. And then let's think about what we need. We want to look at every pixel in the picture and change that pixel from whatever color it is to some shade of gray. So if we're going to have to process every picture, that sounds like a great place for a for loop. So for, I'm going to say pixel in, and then you remember the way we get all of the pixels from a picture is get pixels. And where do we want to get the pixels from? It's the variable picture. So it's for pixel in get pixels of picture. So what do we need to do inside the loop? Well, we need to get each pixel and convert its color to grayscale. It turns out to do that, we need to access each color component and find out the red amount, the green amount, and the blue amount. It also turns out that if we create a color such that the red, green, and blue components are all the same numeric value, that will give us some sort of shade of gray. 000 would be black, 255, 255, 255 would be white, and any combination in between where all three values are the same number will produce some shade of gray between black and white. So if we access the color value for each pixel, for the red, the green, the blue, add those together and divide them by 3, that would give us an average amount, and then perhaps we can use that as our constant for all three values. So let's start out with get red. And what do I want the red of? I want the red of pixel, being the variable that contains one pixel. And then I'm going to say plus get green of pixel, and plus get blue of pixel. So I've got the three values, I've added them together, and then I want to divide that total by 3, so averaging. And so since I wanted to do the addition first, let's put parentheses around this, and then divide by 3. That's going to give me an average value for those three values. Let's come up here to the front of the line then and assign that number to a variable, and let's call it intensity. The intensity of the color, which in a sense is how white or how black is it, how bright. So now we have calculated the value we need to use in making a color where all three of the values are the same. So let's go to the next line and use make color. Make color needs three values, how much red, how much green, how much blue. But remember, because we're trying to create a shade of gray, we're going to use intensity for all three. So intensity, comma, intensity, comma, intensity. So I've got the color, I've got a gray. Let's use that in a set color call to set the color of this pixel to whatever color we've just calculated. So here at the beginning of the line, set color, open the parenthesis. I need to tell it what pixel, so I'm inserting pixel comma, and then I'm coming to the end of the line and closing the parenthesis for the set color. So let's do a quick review. We've defined a function with an input parameter of a variable called picture that's going to be a picture. We've created a for loop where each time through the loop we're getting one pixel from the collection of all pixels in picture. We're getting the red value, the green value, and the blue value from each pixel, adding them together, dividing by 3, and giving us an average color or an average intensity. We're placing that into a variable called intensity. And then we're making a color, which it's going to be a shade of gray, for using that same value for all 3 red, green, and blue values. We're taking that color and setting the pixel to that color. And because it's in a loop, it's going to go through and do that for every pixel. So let's try loading this and running it and see how it works. Let's first create a picture to work with. So I'm going to say pick equal make picture, and then let's use pick a file. Let's go here and let's choose beach. Let's show beach to see what it looks like to begin with. Actually, let's use explore, because that won't be updated as we run the program later. So I'm going to explore pick. That opened up off screen, so let's drag it in. So that's the original version of beach. Let's run our program now. Grayscale. We're going to give it our pick variable. Press enter. It takes a moment, but it's given us the prompt back telling us it's finished running. And so let's explore our picture again. And here is our grayscale version. And let me bring back the original so we can compare. So obviously the original on the left with color, the one on the right that's grayscale. So again, with a few lines of code, we have accessed every pixel, done a little bit of mathematical calculation, and created a grayscale version of our color. Turns out as we grayscale something, we can do a little better, because our eyes see some of the red, green, and blue components in different ways, in different intensities. So we can actually make our calculation a little more sophisticated than simply taking the average of the 3 values. Let's take a look at that. Our new function is going to be very similar to our first one. The main difference is going to be how we calculate the intensity. So to save a little bit of typing, I'm going to come and copy all of my original function and paste it in. And then let's start making some changes to it. First, we need to give it a new name. So let's call this grayscale improved. And then, as I said, we're going to calculate the intensity in a little different way. It's a little more sophisticated. Rather than treating the red, green, and blue value all as equal components, we're going to weight some of them or give some of them a little more priority than others, and then add those weighted values together to calculate intensity. So instead of doing this all in one line, it's actually going to be a few lines. So let's come up here right after the for statement and create a new line. And I need to get each of the red, green, and blue values. So let's start out, get red of pixel. And then for the red, I want to multiply it by 0.299. And we're going to place that into a variable called new red. We'll do the same sort of thing for green and then blue. So I'll go ahead and type new green, get green of pixel, and we're going to multiply it by 0.587. These aren't numbers I'm making up. I've actually done a little research and found out that these are the values we need to multiply by to weight them, so it is more realistic to our eyes. And then lastly, new blue equal get blue of pixel and we're going to multiply it by 0.114. So we're keeping more of the green, a little less of the red, and very little of the blue. So now we've calculated those three values. Rather than add them together and divide, we're simply just going to add them together. So let's clear out the rest of this line. So we're going to put new red plus new green plus new blue. We don't need to divide them because we've multiplied them by values that add up to 1. We've got a new calculation of intensity. Our set color is still the same. We're going to use that same value in all three places. And so it's the same process as our first grayscale function. It's just that we've calculated our values in a little different way. But we're still getting each of them, doing a calculation, and then creating a single value that we use in the set color. So let's load and run this. Again, let's reset our picture. We'll use beach again. And we will run our improved version of grayscale. And let's explore it again, see what it looks like. Okay, here is the new and improved grayscale. Let me bring the other two back. The original, the first grayscale, and our newest grayscale. Visually, not a lot of difference. Some of the things are a little lighter, some things are a little darker. So either one does a very respectable job of taking a color picture and converting it into grayscale. One's a little simpler to code, one's a little more complicated, but just in the sense that we're doing a little bit more math. So perhaps this gives you some ideas of other manipulations you can do with the picture. We'll see you in class.